That's James's meal for today. It's paleo.
Paleo. I like that.
Almondillos. And
I like the
some sprouts.
almondillos. Is that your own coinage too?
Yes.
See, there you go.
And I gave him some salsa. I can't remember what all's in there. I think it's peach and pineapple in that one. And some sprouts. And I'm just having some baked potato with... He's having baked potato under all that too, but I'm having baked potato with hummus.
There we go.
And some hot sauce. So that's it.
Is it really hot sauce? Or
yes, it is. It's made with Scotch bonnet peppers.
I wondered why.
So those are habaneros.
So little of it.
Very excited.
But, yeah.
It's going to be fiery.
Fiery hot. Mm-hmm. I like the weather today. Mm-hmm. But very little summer, and I'm, for one, am not complaining. You know? Mm-hmm. As long as we don't get too much rain along the line. Mm-hmm. Still got maybe a couple weeks to go before June is out. We usually have our monsoons in June, if you'll excuse that rhyme there. And that's when my basement tends to get wanting to flood out. If I'm there, I can keep it mopped out enough so that nothing gets to the point where you call it flooded out.
Well, his neighborhood used to be a swamp.
Well, they, basically, I'd say a block away, a little less than a block away, due west, is a slough. Now, I'm not exaggerating, like I'm trying to be exact about it, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I don't know, I've just seen maps indicating it was a slough, the southern end of Gyro Park, but who knows what it was like before those maps were done. I suspect in springtime, with spring melt, it might have been a slough where I lived. So, anyway, it's by times, I think the last time I had one, a swamp out, was somewhere around 6 years ago.
So you were talking about how they have, how many people coming into the Calgary airport per day?
I believe it's 1,000 a day from out of the country.
Which is interesting.
Which is
because,
too interesting as far as I'm concerned.
I had thought that the borders were shut, and then all of a sudden I was hearing about tourists in Banff doing the Alaska loophole, and then there's this. And it's, I guess
some of them might be in transit.
The CBC said, well, they know that they're supposed to self-quarantine. So no big deal, right?
Well,
although we already know that self-quarantining didn't work. When people people were told, they went and did whatever they wanted anyway. So
I don't know if those are people in transit to other places, and that shouldn't be allowed to happen. Why should we have people being exposed to workers in the Calgary airport who can pass it on to people living in Calgary? It doesn't make any sense. So,
yeah, it's wild.
If you want to go to some other place, don't use Calgary or any place in Canada, frankly, as a stopping off point. People should not be traveling internationally right now. No, there should be no international travel outside of stuff that's absolutely essential, let's say, for diplomacy, and frankly that can be done over the internet or whatever. And there might be stuff that's really, really sensitive in terms of you don't want someone spying. And then, you don't want goods to be stopped at any borders. But actually, people are going with goods. Truckers should stop at the border and, let's say the U.S.-Canadian border, and the load should change truckers. It's that simple. So not even truckers should be allowed to pass the border, only goods. It's that simple, and it should be that way around the world until they've got some sort of a
control
vaccine or until it's developed some sort of herd immunity, as they say, So where it's maybe not so much herd immunity, but where it is kind of apparently some of these diseases just dry up and blow away of their own accord, where they become less virulent or whatever. Until that happens, there should be no repeat NO tourism around the world. It's not worth it. They decided it wasn't worth to shut it down, and now billions of bucks later, and that's just Canada. Trillions of bucks later.
Yeah, I know.
United
I mean,
States.
I was hearing on the radio, somebody was saying, we're wondering, a lot of people are wondering if it's if it was worth it, the $82 billion. And he went over how many millions of lives were saved because of that. And it's like, well, not really. Because had proper action been taken earlier, and the border's been closed to tourism and closed to travel for
all non-essential travel, that's basically everything.
Then that would have been saved. So no, it wasn't worth having such poor leadership.
Skunky leadership. And that's on all sides of the political
And we need to be looking at that. That's what we really need to be focused on. We need to be focused on a bunch of other things too. Like how you were talking about Hong Kong.
Yeah, China's focusing on that right now. They've got their COVID crisis under control. Hong Kong is probably fighting it a little bit more, and they decided to looks like annex Hong Kong, despite their agreements to England and Lord knows who else, people in Hong Kong, back in 1997.
Yeah.
And then it turns out the last week or so they've been fighting India at the top of the world. They've already stolen Tibet and from the Tibetans.
Yeah.
And hey, we're supposed to live in the era of post-colonialism. Mm-hmm. Well, that's imperialism, and apparently they're moving Han Chinese in there. Yeah. So that's colonialism at a pretty good clip. So that's we don't live in an era of post-colonialism. It's just post-colonialism for Europeans. I'm not complaining about that. I think that's a good thing. But, I think the Chinese should follow the Europeans' example and get out of Tibet! And, frankly, get out of India. They've already, in my lifetime, or maybe one of them was just before my lifetime, let's say my brother's lifetime, fought at least 2 wars with India and stole land from them.
What I wanted to say about that was it's interesting that oftentimes I see when there's something important going on, and then the media tries to get us to look over here. It's like, oh, don't look at this, look over here. It's like don't look at the man behind the curtain. Great and powerful Oz. And really, they this racism thing. Really, racism isn't one color of person. It isn't just one race, that might be racist, right, or whatever, or one person of race who might be racist or whatever. And I think maybe it is. It's a good time to, if you want to look at racism during the COVID pandemic, maybe look back to where it started, and wonder about the possibility of the People's Republic of China, of authorities there, perhaps being racist against everyone else but the Hans. Honestly,
including people in China. So yeah, exactly right. So people who have been imperialized and colonized for hundreds of years, actually thousands of years, a couple of thousands of years. So in the case of some. So so we don't live in a post-colonial era, what happened was overseas colonies were kind of like gotten rid of. But there are things. And this applies to the United States. United States colonized continentally, but they've kind of extended something like a vote to the people that they colonized. In Canada, same sort of deal. I think the vote federally was only as late as 1960, so that given to Indigenous peoples. That was in my lifetime, and that's shameful, but that's the way it goes. The important thing is in China, there is nothing like a vote that has any meaning. Now understand, a vote here in Canada, in the United States, is relatively meaningless by comparison with what I'd like it to mean, but it actually does have some sort of a meaning. It has less meaning now than when I was a kid, but there's a reason why capitalists will be piling money on a particular party, i.e. the Republican Party. They don't want the other party to win. Does it make a difference? Darn tootin' it does. They're not happy when they weren't happy when Bill Clinton won. However much left-wingers, fake left-wingers going around, oh man, he was doing just what they wanted to. No.
Anyway.
No.
I guess I should talk about these. Now this Jumanji one, it was pretty bad. Like James said, I'm sure a lot of people enjoyed it. Or
if they knew the game. The game's been out.
Well, I don't know if it's a game, James. I have no idea. So.
Oh, there's no excuse for it then.
I don't know. I mean, the first Jumanji movie had Robin Williams in it. It was very good, and it was. They were playing a board game back then.
And he was playing different roles, right?
I can't remember.
I bet he was. See, they've got people jumping around from role to role, but they got people who can't do it. Robin Williams could play 1,000 roles in the space of an hour and a half. Sorry about that.
Yeah, he could. Yeah, you're right there. But
whereas
anyway.
you've got Rock trying to do it, and he barely can play his own role. He's okay at it, but we've got a couple of chihuahuas that can do better than him.
What James said about the movie is, he said it's like somebody trying to explain how to play a really complicated video game, and the explanation just never ends. It's just like,
now you do this.
Yeah, it's really.
And now you do that.
Honestly, it's just bad. So, it's not everything was bad about it.
Oh, there were a couple of times, like when Jack Black and the black guy were together. Hey, all of a sudden the lines were jumping off the script page. But when you got Rock.
What is that guy's name?
I don't know his name. I kind of like him. I don't think you care for him that much.
No, I don't like him.
I kind of like Jack Black.
Oh.
I thought he did that rock and roll instructor quite well. Way back in the day, that might have been his breakout movie.
I have no idea.
Do you want me to kind of check?
No, I don't care.
Yeah, it's really not worth it.
No,
he's not that good. Like compare and contrast them with.
Kevin
are you going
Hart.
To
That's the
Kevin
guy's
Hart?
name. Kevin Hart. You
Kevin.
like him?
Yeah, I kind of like him. Okay, but I prefer the guy who's playing with Will Smith. This is just a little bit of a tease for what's coming up. This guy works well with Will Smith. Of course, most people are going to work well with Will Smith.
Martin Lawrence. Yeah,
he's
he's really funny.
But he's
Will
got
Smith's
a good.
Really good.
Yeah, exactly right. They've got a
so
good
that
team
movie
kind
was
of
amusing.
chemistry. Yeah.
But I fell asleep. But that's just.
Yeah. It's just us now.
It had nothing to do with the movie. The movie was this one was good.
It was quite good.
Yeah, we liked it. Bad Boys.
Yeah.
And mind you, I found it interesting. But anyway.
What, a certain thing about it interesting?
Well, I found it interesting that although Will Smith's character had a relationship with a Spanish woman, it was African Americans saving America from Spanish people. Yeah, it was a little bit interesting.
Yeah.
But whatever. The best movie of this bunch was The Gentleman.
Yeah, it was
And-
actually pretty good. Yeah. A little complicated for
Yeah,
my.
I've.
By comparison.
There was only
with some-
one Guy Ritchie movie that I saw that I didn't like.
Mm.
So far, when I see his name come up, I'm like, probably will like this.
Now
you
you
know?
knew what you're getting into. It was advertised enough on the cover. You knew it was a Guy Ritchie movie.
I don't know if I did.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
But anyway, it is advertised on the cover, and they did a good job doing that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I did not recognize Colin Farrell or Hugh Grant until I looked at the
Hugh
names
Grant.
on it.
Buddy,
Wow.
great job, man.
Yeah, didn't recognize him at all.
Yeah, great accent. A little bit like Michael Caine and Alfie, but not really obviously so. I never knew you had the chops, Hugh, but no stuttering. You know how he does the stuttering thing when he's doing his usual thing?
Yeah. Wow. I didn't even recognize that.
They say Brit guys stutter a lot by comparison with average guys elsewhere. And it looks as though it might be something they're almost trained to do. Anyway, I was checking for it because sometimes it drives me almost to distraction when he's fluttering his eyes, my eyelashes, and stuttering. But it looks as though he recognized it, it's not something that he does ordinarily. It's what I mean is it's not something that he was born with. It's just something that's cultural, man.
Yeah.
Fascinating. And Colin Farrell, I've seen him do the Irish accent, I think, once before. Yeah, it's probably less of a stretch for him. I don't know what, he was raised on. I presume he comes from Ireland, northern southern. And maybe that's something like his home accent or whatever. But, it was partly the way he moved. Amazing, The way he had him dressed, it looked as though he had it looked as though he had a round head. But my impression of Colin Farrell was like this. Kind of
But
narrow.
I mean, there's no good guys in the movie.
No.
But
then, welcome to the real world. Very few.
And it's funny because Matthew McConaughey, I would never want to meet him. I wouldn't like him as a human being. I'm fairly certain.
Yeah, he's full of himself, isn't he?
But honestly, I like seeing him in movies. He does a good job. I think it's mostly casting. He's cast for roles where he can
where he's
play the
stuck on
part,
himself, and he's
it
maybe
works
got a reason
really well.
To be stuck on himself physically, like he keeps himself.
He
in
does
shape.
keep himself in shape.
Yeah.
But anyway, I loved how the mystery unfolded. I didn't see what was going to happen. He starts you out somewhere near the end, and then fills in the blanks between, and it worked brilliantly.
That cliffhanger introduced at the beginning, that's one time. I should have told you what I figured was going to happen. It did happen. I'm not, not to give everything away.
Oh, yeah.
But that's about the only time that's ever happened. But, where I figured something out before. But, that's very good. McConaughey, every time I see him, I develop a little bit more respect for him. He usually plays himself. Not much. But he does it with a lot of energy. I don't think has he ever varied from that Texan accent or whatever he said.
I don't know if he's really capable of it, but it
No, I don't
doesn't
think so.
really matter.
No.
Because the parts that he's put into work for him.
Well,
So
that's okay.
that's
If you got someone like that, cast him in the right role.
yeah.
If you get
It's
Michael
like
Caine,
these
do not
guys.
cast him as an American Southerner. We saw that, and that was a disaster.
These guys weren't capable of
No, my God,
playing different characters, and really that people should have realized that they shouldn't have been expected to do so.
No, even Jack Black was struggling, you know. And
he was struggling a little bit,
age.
and he's better than anyway.
He's got more acting chops than the rest of them combined, including that woman from Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
I think you might have been disappointed. You were happy that it was cast.
Oh, I was happy she got this role, but she didn't do really great in this either. None of them did, honestly.
Yeah.
Not even Danny DeVito. Anyway.
Well, they didn't have enough of him.
No, I suppose.
I'm telling you, after he and Danny Glover went off the screen,
there was
like
nothing worth watching. Yeah, I know.
Taking the cap off a tiger.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
So, Danny DeVito, the problem is, I don't think he's limping in real life. But they had him limping around.
Yeah.
And that kind of took a little bit of the energy out of him. You know what I'm saying? He always was a little something, a little off kilter with him. Mm-hmm. Don't take that the wrong way. There's something off kilter with me, like I've got the handicap thing, and I don't mind that term, handicap. If people start struggling for some term that doesn't bother me, I find that offensive.
Are you going to talk about that, Meg Ray, or not?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe a little bit.
Well, go ahead.
I was enjoying talking about this.
Oh, were you?
Right? Of course. Okay. I stayed awake. Mainly because I was trying to... Is my eye working? How is it working? Isn't it working? Having a little trouble with my eyes. Went down to emergency today. They told me basically, Gomer, get out of my retina.
Yeah.
Emergency.
He's on this new medication. Well, he's on a bunch of medications, which
a few.
They may be conflicting. I don't know, but so he's on this new medication to get rid of blood clots that are forming because of another medication that's supposed to be controlling his cancer.
It is,
and
actually, just judging from the results.
He might die of a stroke instead of cancer now. So
it's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, on the sheet that comes with this latest drug, it says, get immediate medical attention. Both times, if you have visual changes. That's all it says. It doesn't say the type of visual change.
And it says it's, more of a risk if you have had spinal injuries and this and that and whatever. And it's
spinal deformities.
Yeah, and
so one doctor said to me, I've never seen so much damage or so few complications. I kind of want to keep it that way. So, yeah, it can be something like bleeding in the spine type of stuff. Kind of scary. So, the guy was saying, if that was happening, you'd be in all sorts of pain. And I'm going, well, thank you for telling me, because it doesn't say that.
It doesn't say that on the sheet.
It says, get immediate medical attention. First thing he said to me, so did you try to arrange an appointment with a ophthalmologist? I'm going, are you stupid? You don't get immediate attention that way. You wouldn't have ever even thought of going that route, would you? Anyway.
I don't know.
They gave me the typical EFGD test, Okay. And, like that's testing the central part of my vision. Now I'm having trouble in the peripheral area.
We'll see if the vision things clears up, or you definitely need to talk to your oncologist about it.
Anyway, that was relatively interesting. Anyway, Simona, Meg Ray's War on Nerves. War of Nerves, not War on Nerves. And it's a weird mistranslation. Not even a translation. La tête d'un homme. It's the head of a man. Why wouldn't they just say the head of a man?
I don't know.
Because that's kind of creepy. You know what I'm saying? War of Nerves. Anyway, you got to get used to that. Like bad or weird translations, I think. So this one, maybe they weren't that inspired. As I recall, it wasn't that inspired. It was like a couple of weeks back. I finished it up. I finished it in one day, 5th of June. So
You know, you should write a little thing to remind yourself what you felt about
yeah, I should really. You know what I'm saying. But this one, don't really go out of your way to.
Oh, you remember it wasn't that good then.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I can remember some of the things about it. You know what I'm saying. So.
All right. So out of these movies, this was enjoyable. This was definitely worth watching. And this,
Well, I don't know. We want to go to sleep, or
well, there's a lot of noise, so I don't think you'd sleep very well.
there was an immense amount of noise. I think.